G'day, legends, and welcome to the Thursday Sesh by Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me are Jared and Willie. How are you, Willie?
I'm doing all right, Jared. Another busy week in the fast life of an electrician, so 100 mile an hour as usual.
Living it up, of course. There we go. And how you going, Jared?
I am completely jealous of all the people that are tuning into this pod that also got to see Monday's pod and get to see me twice in 1 week. You lucky.
The double
5
dose.
minutes, can't swear.
The double dose of Jared. There you go. Lucky for some, I suppose. There we go. They covered both of us, so it's good fun. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. What I'll do is I'll start off with just let you know the plan for the Celtic Down Under podcast over the off season. So what we're doing is tonight is the last Thursday sesh until we're back playing some practice games and the likes going into next season. So the plan going forward is going to be every Monday we're going to have a podcast. It'll be a combination of the contributors from across all our shows, all three of them. So we'll have one podcast, and then we're going to have some snap podcasts just randomly popping up here and there if some news happens. So, like, if we bring in a signing, if we sell a player, like a major player, whatever, it'll be like in the group chat, who's available. And then whoever jumps on the pod that night, we talk about it, 10, 15 minutes, done deal, on to the next one. And that's basically the plan for the channel in the off season, just to give the contributors a break, to give you guys a bit of a break from, seeing all our faces and listening to us talk absolute rubbish every week. So, yeah, we'll do that. And, yeah, we'll definitely be back next season with the podcast going forward. And it's just a matter of, going from there. So that's the plan anyway. So just want to thank each and every one of you who have tuned in at any point throughout the off season, throughout the season. Last off season when we didn't stop because, we take after Ange, but he's gone now. So it's time to have a bit of a stop. Have a bit of a break, but thanks everyone for tuning in. The channel has grown from strength to strength this year on YouTube. On the podcast numbers are up, so everything's charting in the right direction. So appreciate each and every one of you.
You're welcome.
So Dan's on his way. He's going to be here soon. So let's just pick on him before he gets on the air. So shut up, Dan.
You don't have to pick on him. Just wait till he turns on his camera.
There it is.
Here he comes.
Sorry, boys. I've been fucking inconsolable since I heard Gerard was going to make it.
Oh,
You
you didn't even make the 5 minutes.
I never do. Give me a second. I'll get the washing out of the body.
The old pumper over there. Couple of minutes. Oh, geez, he's a clever one. He's a clever one. So, how you going, Dan? What's new?
Fucking great.
Again.
Fucking great.
He's off his chops, everyone. There we go. We're going into it.
I didn't realise we were live. Sorry, guys.
We were waiting for you.
That's three.
Backstage.
I think you need to ask for new sponsors in that little monologue you've done there, Jared. We'll be getting demonetized rapidly after this show.
Yeah, pretty much.
My bad.
Blame it on the guy from Penrith. There you go.
There's no comments yet.
What's with that?
There's normally like...
Is anyone even there? Comment.
2 dozen hails by now, at least.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sure the comments will pop up when we start actually talking about Celtic instead of the podcast and what we're going to do over the off season. So
let's crack on.
Exactly.
Dan, can you put your glasses back on? It looks like someone's just drawn dots for eyes.
Yeah, they're not good, eh? I am blind as fuck.
That's much better.
Some weird looking fella. So tonight's pod,
champions, Scottish Cup champions, go.
All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about the off-season plans. We're going to be talking about, any recruitment, players in and out. We're going to talk about the Kyogo rumours. We're going to have a bit of a zombie watch to start the episode, and we'll finish off chatting about Brendan Rodgers. So, zombie watch. Dan, you sent through a whole bunch of goodies to our group chat to bring up. So, we'll just rattle off a whole bunch of things here. So, I haven't even looked at half of them, so I'm hoping they've been proofread. Here we go. So, Carson has said, for when Celtic announced that Joe Hart was retiring, he said, Joe Hart seen Rangers mount a challenge and immediately decided to call it quits. That aged well.
Aged like milk.
Empire 1872 said, the longer we don't call it out, the more decisions like that go against us. Weak with the roof goal that was chopped off in September 23. Weak with the decisions given us against us at the Piggery December 23. And will no doubt be weak again after the chopped off goal today. They had to get a player sent off away to Hearts. And that's and it's all that's spoken about for a fortnight afterwards. That's the difference. What was it
This is my favourite Hunnery at the moment. They're acting like they never have a whinge. They're like, we need to arc up. We need to cause a ruckus because we're too quiet and we get walked over. And it's like, never shut the fuck up.
There was one that was shared in. There was some chick. She's talking. She showed me Mrs. before, and she goes, "It's not the accent." She goes, "I can't understand what she's saying." This chick, she's like, sounds like she's talking with a mouthful of rocks, and it's cheated. It's cheated. That's all she was saying every third or fourth word. And as I said in our group chat, the way their mindset is, they're always cheated. They're never defeated. And everyone.
She looked like me in drag too, which didn't help. But
it's a weird mental image.
Worst OnlyFans ever. Do not subscribe.
I was waiting for you there to say, Willie, worst wank ever.
It was a challenging one, but we got there.
I bet you did.
Jared, have you got anything to jump on with? Or keep going through?
Yeah. Just in that comment where she said we had a player sent off in the Rangers fan in the Hearts game, and we didn't shut up about it for 2 weeks. No one cared about the red card. We were going on about the handball, like in that game. We didn't shut up about the handball for 2 weeks after, not the sending off. And then guess what happened? They came back and said that should never have been a handball. And we're like, yes, that's what we said. Well done. That's the difference.
RL77, the Rangers aren't coming. I won't repeat my joke from the other night. A final thought.
Like Dan's missus.
The missus didn't like it. Oh, far out. Punch on
the
pod.
That's a compliment.
All right, next one here. Midfield Jack is saying, goosebumps. Our team may be dreadful, but we run Glasgow, and it's them walking by in their gimp masks and everything. About
a bunch of kids walking in an empty part of town in their gimp masks.
To the sound of the Smurf theme tune.
Some absolute belters out there for that. Next one is Screeb69, highest wage bill in the league. The mismanagement of player contracts and recruitment has been off the scale. Rip it up and start again. No sacred cows, no sentimentality. Fast, athletic, young, skillful players required. No more Prosiac never beans. I don't know that last word, but yeah, interesting.
Prosaic.
There you go.
It's a nice way of saying shit.
Yeah, I thought so. Why don't they just put the shit emoji? It does the same job and it saves them letters in their 160 characters or whatever they get. I don't see a blue tick. Next one here. Tags Bow. If Celtic were officiated the way we were today, Walsh would be hounded and end up on the witness protection program. Whereas us, we just accept it in case we sound like them. Okay. And we're probably going to hound another manager out by October. Rinse and repeat, some buzz. Perfect.
With that one there, I was listening to Heart and Hand, and I think your man Edgar turned around and says, "Oh, you don't see us going after referees and publishing their addresses on the internet and putting their windows through." And I was just sitting there thinking, are you for real? Like, whatever happened to Kevin Clancy? Why doesn't he referee Rangers games anymore? Why did it take months and months for Willie Collin to get another Rangers game? Because you were all over him like a rash. They just think they're whiter than white when it comes to it. Like,
it's not just that, Willie. They don't. Maybe they don't go after all the refs, just a couple, but
No,
they
just the
definitely go
toughest.
after. They just send bullets to former players and former managers, and throw glass bottles on their pitch and batteries at us and cups of piss on our fans at Ibrox and all that stuff. And then they also go on a follow and put up fellow Celtic podcasters' home addresses just as an intimidation factor. But don't worry that they're holier than thou and everything. Nah, they'd never do anything of the sort.
Aye, it's funny. Like they are melting down big time, and I'm here for it. Like what I mean, it's funny as like
Inject it straight into my veins.
yeah,
It's just so delightful.
yeah.
We'll go to the next one here. Jamie Bryson. Follow. Rangers cheated again. Every single decision goes the way of them ones. Needs to be serious look at the bias at key moments in Scottish football. And then there's some bloke called Dan. You're suffering, boys. My spirit's dipshit. Fair response.
I agree with that guy.
I think you are that guy. I know I outed him. Oh, God forbid.
Come on. I mean, I've already got 2 fights the next time I go to Glasgow, so a couple more won't hurt.
GP 1872. It's got to the point if we score against Celtic, I fully expect it to be disallowed. Irrelevant of if it's a corner, a penalty, a free kick, a volley from open play. It's become the presumed outcome that it'll be disallowed. You can't touch a Celtic player without it being disallowed. Yeah, also... No, I'll leave that one. I'll let that go through to the keeper. Just because I don't want the channel taken down.
I just think it's brilliant that 20-odd years ago they would have got they just got the benefit of the doubt over everything. Every dodgy call went in their favour. And then as TV technology increased, we could see that where the mistakes were being made, but they were still getting the benefit of the doubt because the referees weren't good enough and they needed video assistant referee. They needed the VAR systems there to help them. Now that they have VAR, then they just basically can't make a mistake when it comes to goalmouth incidents. They're all going against them and they're all up in arms, raging like, why isn't this going in our favour? Well, because it's a foul. You know what I mean? Joe Hart was pushed with 2 hands. It's a clear foul. The letter of the law when Lagerbielke dallied on the ball is that you took his leg out when he was going to kick it. So that's a foul. You know what I mean? It's just like John Lynch, red card. It's all fouls. They're all, yeah.
It's like, I will say, it was probably the funniest part of it. The very first caller, I don't know whether it was live, but the very first caller on the Super Scoreboard podcast was like firing off about it never being a foul. And even Kenny Miller was like, no, it's a foul. And I'm like, how deluded do you have to be where Kenny Miller is not the deranged one in that conversation?
And they try and compare it. They say like, but you look at the foul on Lagerbielke in the opening game at Ibrox, and then you look at the one that Matt O'Reilly does. We just want a bit of consistency. Well, they were both fouls and they were both given. Like, so what's not consistent about that? Like,
yeah. Dan, you're saying about the intelligence in Miller there is it's pretty bad when you make him look like the smart one in the room. And all I'm going to put that down to is generations of inbreeding lead to that supporter base. I said it. Come at me. I don't care.
If they've got any arguments, Blotham's here ready to go.
Kenny Miller's about as bright as Gerard's LEDs behind him right now.
Hey.
Yeah, where's the green?
Yeah, but they're about as turned on as Dan's wife.
Well, you better get a snorkel.
So let's bring up some comments here. RL77, that particular episode of Heart and Hand is hilarious. Well worth a listen. Smell the glove. McCoist on TalkSport whips him up and gets away with it. Can't believe some Celtic fans thinks that prick is okay. He is not. Morning, Jerry. G'day. Who's the snitch? Andrew Galea, there's only one John Beaton. RL77, feels like equality feels like oppression. Exactly. So I'll bring up that comment from you, Pegleg, a bit later in the pod when we get to it. But Jerry Burns, what was that Muppet McCoist all about with his comments? Yeah, who knows? He doesn't even know. He throws enough shit to the wall and hopes something sticks. That's the way he does it.
He likes getting them all up in a big frothy.
Oh yeah, of course. So we'll bring up a couple more. I'm hoping this is one that I wanted to bring up. There you go, Granty. Do you think there'll ever be an Old Firm game that we don't get a goal chopped off? It's becoming a theme. Yeah, there won't ever be an Old Firm game again, mate. So yeah, your point is irrelevant. There's this one because of the name of the episode. Young people of Scotland become referees. Bellahouston Park effect is in course there. I saw this. It's not really a meme. It's a funny story here saying from the Ibrox and Noise thing. Rangers must sign both Shanklin and Miovski this summer with Monopoly money. Is it?
Get them on tick.
Yeah. And then I want to finish off the zombie watch with this section. This one here. Philip Clement Trophy Hall 23-24. The Armed Forces Day Trophy, Coefficient Champions Trophy. We were better. We were the better team, but lost award. We won more points this month since I arrived award. The XG Champions Trophy, the 86-minute Shield. It's not my players, so it doesn't count trophy. The Moral Victory Cup and the most shots, but we lost the game trophy. He's done well for himself, old Baltimore, hasn't he?
What a haul.
He's done well for himself. And the response to that post is, I'm loving this one. So brilliant. So what we'll do is we're going to get into talking about the whole off-season and where we think it's got to go and how it needs to play out shortly. So what I want to do before we get into that, I just want to talk real quickly. Just want to bring this up. Saw this top. Looks good. See it in that angle. Makes Calmac look like a machine. Dan, you had a good post I saw about this today. If you had to rate this out of 10, this top. So we'll quickly talk about it. For me, it's a solid 8 for me. Solid 8 for a few reasons. If you're a bigger guy like me who has a little bit of a gut, these little like dark green swoopy things on the side aren't gonna be very flattering. The hoops are already hard enough, so that's gonna make it a little bit more awkward. The second thing, the star's not gold. Fix both of them, and that'd be a nice 9.5 out of 10 for me. Dan, what are your thoughts on the top?
It's pretty much as I said. I come down at about an 8 out of 10 as well. Take the silly green sash things off the side, and it's a 9 out of 10. Change the star to a gold, and it's 9.5 out of 10. I don't know why I went like real statsy then for a sec. And ditch Daffabet for the sponsor, for a sponsor that doesn't stick out like a sore thumb, and it's a 10 out of 10. Daffabet just sucks balls. It's a nice kit. Ditch the sashy things. It's Adidas template. It's on a million of their new kits. Even though I think it was the Cynic retweeted that said an Adidas spokesman has said it represents like the stained glass of the original St. Mary's Cathedral or some crap. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. It's on all their templates. It sucks. It's everywhere. It's a decent kit. It's not one for the husky gentleman. It's not, obviously I prefer the flashy away and third kits myself anyway, but it gets the job done. The number one kit we've got is the one that our mate Willie is wearing up there right now, the anniversary kit that's never been worn, but it's a beautiful kit.
Should have been worn.
Actually, yeah.
It's the same as the Scotland one, the anniversary heritage one that they think they wore once. It's like those throwbacks was just so minimal. They're beautiful.
Well, that Scotland heritage kit was just a beauty, like just a thing of beauty, like, you know what I mean? It's perfect, simplistically perfect. Like.
So I'll bring up something. Pegleg saying, nice kit without the shitty sponsor. So we've got a picture of that here. It looks pretty nice, all things considered there. Still not a massive fan of those green things on there, but it could be worse. You could be wearing the surrender flag.
I like how most of them are carrying on like that's this revolutionary, amazing. It's fucking white with a blue collar. Well done. My 2-year-old that is.
Then smell the glove about our saying the squiggle thing down the side of the shorts lets it down, but it's a 10 times better than the puke of last season. Hey, I always loved that top last season. I said it from day one. It was going to be a future cult classic when we won the league and double winners in it. Love that top. And just I love it that much.
Squiggle down the side, though. The squiggles down the side could be worse. I mean, they're going this way. If they had them going the other way, it would look like a couple of brackets. Just like keep like here, focus on this. It would be less flattering for more well-endowed belly button people.
If you're like Dan, you'd want them in closer into the middle so they're pointing down at your dick.
Get that V shape going.
Oh, yeah. like a couple of like artificial cum gutters.
I was suspended from school from doing that.
Oh, jeez. Good fun. So anyway, let's get into the actual the main chat now. So, boys, I want to know, how do you think Celtic will use this season as a launching pad going into next season? Now, I just want to get a general chat. So for me, I think we've got two paths we go down. The options are rinse and repeat, where we go out and we spend absolute jack shit on, a bunch of project signings and bring them in. It doesn't really improve our first team. Option 2, and the one I hope we're doing, is, as I said, bring in 4 or 5 guys who come in and are ready to start straight away so that our current starters drop to the bench, and it overall strengthens our squad because it gives us quality players to start, not just in the league in Scotland, which is already covered by the guys being relegated to the bench, but also in Europe. That's the pathway I hope. Willie, what are you thinking?
I think this has to be a springboard. We've had a pretty unsuccessful 2 transfer windows last season, and we saw from the end of Ange's towards the end of Ange's last few games, the form dropped off and it never really picked up again. At the beginning of the last season, we had fits and starts. We would get 2 or 3 games where we'd be really good, and then there'd be 2 or 3 games when we were pretty bad. We might get the results, but we weren't great. So this season we finished strongly, and we need to carry that momentum into next season. So for me, we need to get the right players in, get the players who don't want to be here out, the players we don't need to be here, get them out, and sort of we need to give Brendan the money to augment the squad and bring it forward, because we just need to strengthen. We don't need, well, we do need a lot of players come. I would say, actually, we'll touch on that later, but
don't name names now because we've got that for later.
Yeah, I think we need to get rid of quite a few players and then augment the squad from there on in. So I'll leave it at that before we touch on other subjects later.
Dan, what are your thoughts?
Similar. I think, we've been in this situation before where it's an opportunity to overhaul the squad and to take a step toward challenging in Europe and leaving them in our dust. I'm not 100% confident that the board will take it. I think the one upside coming into this transfer window is that, we've seen some movement on scouting and coaching, but we haven't seen a wholesale structural change that we're, I guess, expecting since Mark Lawal and whoever else went out the door. So I guess if you haven't got that structure, you haven't got your chief scouts, your head of recruitment or whatever that you're, working cohesively and have been working for quite some time, it might be a window where they sort of back Brendan a little bit more and just say, well, look, you're the manager. We're going to, who do you want? Let's try and make that happen. I think we're already seeing that. I know we get linked with so many players, but there does seem to be something in the link to, I think it's Daniel Amadi, who's in Turkey at the moment, but spent, I think 3 or 4 seasons at Leicester and worked under Brendan there.
There he is there on the screen. I'll just cut in here, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
So the story is Turkish media saying we've made a move for him. Celtic have reported for $3.5 million for the 29-year-old. I just look at this picture and go, have a look at him. All sweaty, muscular. hand taped, look with a face like he just wants to knuckle someone. That's my sort
Ready
of
to go.
sign. He's a little bit mental, so I'd say get him in if he can, but that's a good starting point.
But from what I remember at his time at Leicester, he had been sort of more a defensive midfielder, but I think Brendan used him in the centre of defence quite a bit, and he's quite adept there. So he's sort of the guy you could see in either a holding role or dropping a little bit further back. And I know left centre back is something that we've spoken about ad nauseum, but he just seems like a Brendan Rodgers signing. It's not, it's not paying 3 or 4 mil for some random in Sweden or something that comes a little bit left field. It's someone that the managers work with before, someone, that he will, appear happy to work with again. So, I know, hopefully the lack of that Law replacement or anything yet plays into our favour, and we see Brendan, I guess, get to make the big call on who comes in.
Jared, bring it home with this topic before we get into the next thing.
All right. Well, when you look at our squad now, we've got about 28 first-team players. And if you actually broke it down player by player, not including our 2 loan players, Ida and Bernardo, let's roll them out for now because we would have to agree or buy them. If you take everyone else out and who you're going to loan or get rid of, we're down to 15, 16, 17 players at the most. So that means that we need, like you're saying, just bring back, let's just sign starters. It's like, we're not even at that point. We need to sign about 5 or 6 quality starters and about 4 or 5 rotational players, like not prospects anymore. Not prospects, but we need actual depth that are people are actually going to come on and not just sit on the bench or drop up, go down, up and down, whatever. And I'm not including B team players. 33, yeah, but that's including B team players and like the loan players and everything, which is way too much. Like we don't need 33. That's 3 starting teams. That's 3 full teams. I think we can get down from there and go for quality over quantity as long as we've actually got solid depth in all areas.
The thing Brendan said is he wants to have 2 players for every position challenging and battling. He wants to have a squad of about 25, and that's all we need. So realistically, if you have 22 players challenging for first team, so that's a starter and a backup, and then those last 3 there are your players coming through, or your prospects, your guys like your Daniel Kellys and your Mitch Frames and Poston Lawwells and those sort of guys coming through. That's the sort of thing he wants. So, and that would make more sense. But at the moment, there's too many. So I'll just bring up a few of the comments here. We'll get through some of them. So RL77 was saying option 3, new heated driveways all round. And Smell the Glove was our bloated squad is huge. Need to trim as much of the crap as possible. And about 5 first 11 starters in. Jerry Burns is saying we need to trim the squad and a few quality signings, get rid of players not contributing. We'll get into the actual nitty-gritty of that shortly. RL77, so many players on long contracts who are nowhere near the first team. That's going to make things a bit hard to move some players on. RL77 has also said the biggest change would be no more jobs for the boys. And then we've got Michael McDonald. He's saying, ask 10 fans and you'll get 10 different answers to what an improvement in Europe. What is an improvement in Europe? Yeah, I know. That's the key thing. We need to improve and we need to recruit for Europe because we've got 10 games in there this time. RL77 was bring back Jens. Michael Ross was saying potentially 10 big games in the Champions League plus domestic competitions. It's a lot of games. So, yeah, the key thing is we need quality, as to use that word Brendan said 4,000 times this season. We need quality. We don't need quantity that we currently have. So, with that being the case, the next thing I want to ask you boys is what do you think our transfer budget will be this off-season and how do you think it'll be used? And then we'll flow that over into the actual positions that we'll talk about next. So how do you think it's going to be used? Like for me, I'm thinking we'll probably get like a 30 million budget plus whatever, because we got the Jota money, the Abada money. You've got, if we sell O'Reilly, there's going to be a Scottish record fee coming in for him and a club record, obviously. So that should be on top of the 30 that we already would have, in my opinion. So realistically, if we keep O'Reilly, we should be looking at four to five players in that £6 million mark that would come in to start. Then if O'Reilly goes, then that opens up. If you sell O'Reilly before you bring those guys in, then you're looking, okay, let's get 5 guys in the 8 to 10 million range instead. And that would help us in Europe with the depth. That's just what I reckon. We'll go to you first, Jared. What are you thinking on that?
One, I don't think our board cares about Europe, especially since we're only there this year and not next year. They're probably just happy with whatever money we're going to be getting from that. And then they'll be like, yes, let's now focus on the Scottish League and lower championships. I don't know if I can put an actual number on what they're going to actually give us. I don't know if they actually have a number. I think it's going to be more about Brendan will take players to them and have a fee and go, can we get them? And so I think the actual number is going to be in a range depending on how well Brendan Rodgers can sell specific players for what we need. But there are certain positions where we need to spend money, like centre back, goalkeeper, left back, one midfielder, one winger, one striker. And if you go maybe average 6, 7, 8 million, I don't know, what is that up to? That's probably where we're starting off on. And then we also need a few backup players. Like we need depth from that. So I have no idea what the hell that adds up to, but Bernardo might not be the answer, but you have to sell him. Yeah, you got to buy him. Like for the amount that we're going to get him for, he's only going to go up. His price is only go up. It's going to be. You'd be crazy to not like at least have him as part of your depth or whatever.
So on those ones you're talking about, Jared, where you're saying we need to get some not youth players, but we need to get some backup players to come into the squad. Like a perfect one for me would be not just for the European quota that's required and everything, but go get Connor Barron from Aberdeen. He's on free. He's good enough to come into our squad, in my opinion. So I would be bringing him in. That's the sort of thing there. And RL77 saying our team will certainly be taller next season, which is always going to be good for Europe. Peg Leg saying,
powerful.
First team starters, not squad or project players. So it's going to be interesting. But Willie, what are you thinking?
We're going to have upward 100 million in the bank by the time O'Reilly's sold. So you'd hope at least half of that would be made available for reinvesting it in the squad. But as Gerard says, I don't have the confidence in this board to say I would say we'll probably use it more sparingly. For me, I think I'll agree with you, Jared, it'll be 30 million. That will be the war chest Brendan has to play with. And I think every penny of it is going to be needed. So if you look at the positions, I don't know if you want to go on to that now or do you want to wait, hold fire on it, because it's kind of one, you can't really talk about one without the other,
I think go for it, Willie, and then Dan just jump in off the back of that with your thoughts on what we're currently talking about and the positions as well then.
So for me, you're looking at 2 goalkeepers, a left back, a left centre back, a right midfielder, a centre defensive midfielder, a centre forward, Adamida and Bernardo. They're the players that need to come in. The right side of defence is strong enough for now. I'm quite happy with Alistair Johnson as our right back and Ralston as the backup. Same with CCV and maybe another in there to back him up, and the left wing position's okay for me, but everywhere else is going to need that little bit of augmentation in there just to push it on.
Yeah, so just before you jump in, Dan, like what I put on our sheet just for the listeners is what positions need to be strengthened and which positions are strong enough. So by strong enough, you got to look at it in 2 fronts. What's strong enough for the Scottish League to win that and what's strong enough for Europe. So where Willie has just said the right back position is strong enough, and the way he said that with Johnson starting and then with what's it called, Ralston backing him up, that's strong enough for Europe. But left back situation, before we come to you, Dan, for me, and I've said this numerous times, Taylor is good enough for the league in Scotland, but in Europe he's not good enough. So that's where we need to bring in someone over the top of him. So we'll throw to you now, Dan, for your thoughts on all of that.
Yeah, look, very similar. I think you've also got, as you said, we're looking at it from a league perspective. We've got Taylor at left back, who's fine. But, I mean, if he gets injured, we're down to Adam Montgomery at this point. Or I guess Bernabei is technically a Celtic player still, isn't he? Unfortunately. Well, yeah, I mean, Frame's got a lot of raps on him, but he's obviously not knocking the door down to come in right now, or you'd think he'd be pressing. So it'll be interesting to see. It's the same, I think, with Kelly, and we saw some flashes out of Kelly. The goal at Dundee when we played Dundee was great, but we've got a manager that's got a track record of developing and bringing through young guys, and he's not fast tracking those guys. So you probably expect that he'd want someone to fill in those roles. But look, positional wise, without Ida or any incoming in there, obviously we can't go into another season, particularly with the European campaign, with Kyogo and O as our only two front options. Goalkeeper, of course, Scott Bain and Ben Siegrist are our current 1 and 2 in that department. Now that Joe's gone, if Mikey Johnson and Saeed Haksabanovic go, which I expect, then left wing is sort of Palmer, Maeda, Vata. That's reasonably strong, but again, you want to see a little bit more out of Maeda. Rocco, we're obviously keen on keeping him, but he's not knocking the door down, or at some point he's going to get a crack, you would think. Kuhn on the right. Forrest is a year older. Tilio comes back. Yang. It's a mixed bag. There could be someone star out of there. There could be someone not, There's no one you're going to hang your peg on there. As good as Jimmy Forrest was to end the season. And I know part of me only wants to bag Kuhn because I know it's going to annoy one of my esteemed colleagues, but, he's not been consistent enough yet. He's had flashes. I'm not 100% sold, but I'm not going to put the pen through him. Centre back, we need, Scales. I'm fine with Scales as a squad player. I'm fine with Naroki as a squad player. Lagerbielke's clearly done and dusted. There's just nothing there. You have to think with Rodgers. Welsh, squad player, I guess, and keeps that Scottish homegrown coefficient going. And Kobayashi, the forgotten man, the Where's Wally of Parkhead. Realistically, you'd want a starting left centre back, and you'd potentially want, I guess, even someone to come in and be in and around that area as well as a sort of a left back, right back, centre back option, if you could find someone with a bit of flexibility there. So there's a lot. 30 million based on our financial position sounds like that's what you would be happy to spend. I don't, I believe it when I see it. I just have no faith in Law or the board to open the purse strings. When they did last year, they got centre backs that clearly weren't up to standards. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, I'll just look at it and go that I said 30 million, and I don't really expect us to spend much more than that. But you look at Ange's first season when he came in and the rebuilding job he had, and you look at the turnover with the players who went out and the players and what we spent, it was around that 23 million for his first transfer window. So that's where I'm referring to it as, where we have this money in the bank. We have to like restructure and refresh our squad. We have to, the key thing is getting people out as well as getting guys in. Because you can't be going, okay, we need 6 or 7 players to come in for the first team. But if we can't move anyone on, that pushes us up to a squad of 40 players. So the key thing is we've got to get people out and get people in. So I put a list together of talking about, I knew you guys would go into all the stuff that needs to happen coming in. So I went on the other little tangent of like which players need to be moved on this off season. So I put my list together, and it could be a little bit. There's a couple of potential ones on there you might find a little odd, but so I've got must sell, maybe sell, and loan out. So for me, in loan out, I'll start there. Odin Home, if he's not going to play and he's that far down the depth chart, loan him out for a season within Scotland. You saw what that did for Quan this season at St Mirren. So he needs to go out. Quan goes on loan for another year. And then I've got Yang to also go for loan for a season. I can't see him breaking into our squad. The reason I put Yang there, and I'm at the wind-up now, if James Forrest was playing that well this season, I'm waiting for the Claxton of this bloke to hit. We all know how much Rodgers loves him. I'm only saying that to wind it up. I'm not actually keen. And those listening to the audio, there was a picture of Paddy Roberts on the screen. JJ Celtics put up, is it true Ayers coming back to us for 12 million? 12 million's a little cheap. No chance for that there, but I'd love to have it. So looking at the overall list, and then loan out or sell, I have this one player on both. I'm not sure how we'll do it. With what's happened this season, does Tilio have a future at Celtic? Probably not. Let's be honest. So do we keep him and loan him out within Scotland, or do we sell him? I'm happy with either option. We've got to do what we've got to do there. Okay. To the next list I'll go to the must sells next. This is pretty much self-explanatory. Segrist, Bernabei, Kobayashi, Lagerbelka, Haksabanovic, Mikey Johnson, Liam Shaw is still on the list. And then the two guys on here, see if we can get James McCarthy out the door. Otherwise, Shane has to buy this next season's top with McCarthy on the back. He said it on the pod. We'll make sure he does it. So I'm trying to help save you the embarrassment, Shane, of having to wear a McCarthy shirt. And the other one there I'll be putting is, this was before the Kyogo rumours, but I had O on my list. I can't see him. If we sign Ida permanently, Kyogo hangs around, I can't see him getting a game with us. So I'd be putting a line through him, selling him on. It's a little brutal on my list. I've got 2 of the 3 Koreans loaned out and 1 being sold. Go on, Jared.
Speaking of Ida, there was a rumor today came out from whatever his name is, Chris Sutton or something, saying that the price for him is now 9 million. Is what they're asking for. Like, it's not confirmed. This is just what Chris Sutton said. But is that priced him out of our market now?
Well, that's what we paid for Edward, and Edward hadn't done shit for us before we paid it. He came up for a year on loan, and his first year did what? Did a little bit here and there towards the end of the season, and then won a game at Ibrox. What's Ida done? He hasn't done much. Just come up and scored the goal for the to win the Scottish Cup. So, it's about the same. And they're a similar sort of age.
If you look at Ida for 9, and then we're going to get Bernardo for about 6, that's 15 million already. So your overall was 30. So now we're spending half of it on 2 backups. And that's not even including a goalkeeper and a left back and a centre back that we actually need starters and a replacement for Matt O'Reilly.
Okay, Jared. So this is where I'm going to just mention something again. We're talking about a backup central midfielder. I can't see Bernardo money at 6.5 million is the figure. Now that's apparently negotiable. If we can get him for 4, I'd pay it. Anything above 4, see you later. Let's go and sign Barron on a free. That's the way I look at it. And that fills that spot in the squad. So the last ones I had on my maybe sell list. So I've already mentioned Tilio. Look at how many centre backs I've already got sold. Kobayashi, Lagerbielke. So there's 2 out there. We know we need to bring in a starting left centre back. Scales backing him up. Then you have Carter Vickers, Naroski. You've got 4 there. Okay, that's plenty. And then you've just extended Dane Murray, who's your young guy coming through. There's your 5 centre backs, right? So for me, Stephen Welsh, I have him on my maybe sell list. He's on a long contract, but I can't see him breaking in as a regular week in, week out in the Celtic first team. And I'm looking at it for him on the personal level, for his career. And if he wants to break into the Scotland squad, he needs to be one of the next players to do that path from Scotland over to Italy, in my opinion, and go play over there. I don't think he's long-term going to be a first-team player. And then the last one on my maybe sell list, where are you, Mr. Gibson, in the comments? Because I have Lewis Palmer on the maybe sell list. Not good enough, my opinion. We want hard workers. We don't want the individuals. And from what we've seen from him this season, I'd be selling him, move him on. So that's my breakdown. So if you take all that, there's 12 players being sold, 3 players being loaned out. So that's 15 players from your current 33-man squad, brings you down to 18. Then you bring in your 6 or 7 first-team players, brings you back up to your 25, as you said earlier on, Jared. Any of you boys want to jump in on any of that or rattle off your list of the sales?
I'll let you know my list. Players to be sold for me are Seagus, Bain, Lagerbielke, Welsh, Kobayashi, McCarthy, Haksabanovic, Mikey Johnson, Yang, O, and possibly Palmer. I wouldn't waste any more time on O or Yang. I don't think they're good enough to make it in Scotland. I don't think they have I don't think Yang has the physical capabilities to play here. I think he's too lightweight. He goes missing in games. His brain fart at Ibrox cost us a whitewash for Rangers this season. So for me, I don't think he's ever going to make it. And O is just too rash. Maybe a season on loan might do him the world of good, but I still don't think even with a season on loan out another Scottish team, he'll be good enough to play for Celtic. So,
Dan, you got anything to add? You're on mute.
Idiot.
I'm fairly similar, but I think I've also you got to factor in when you say sell, which of those players has got a market that's going to make selling them a viable alternative. You look at someone like Welsh, as you said, long contract, decent wage. He might be thinking, "Yep, I need to go and play somewhere and play big minutes to crack on," or he might be thinking, "Good wage, pick up medals." You know, there's no incentive to move him on if he doesn't want to. I'm with you. I'm not. I know it's hard because all the numbers and all the stats and even the eye test occasionally tells you that Palmer contributed quite a bit, particularly early on. But there's just something about him that's like, not for me. I don't know. It's hard to. There's no, I guess, analytical way for me to frame that. There is a little bit of that individualist that I, as a good upstanding communist, I don't like to see the individual flair. I like to see conformity to the overall good. I'm a greater good sort of guy, but he does sort of, it's a vibe thing with me and Palmer. I'm not a fan. Beyond that, I'm happy to get rid of guys like Kobayashi. If there's a club in Japan that wants them, see you later. If there's a club that wants Seagrist, sweet, see you later. Again, who's bumping the door down to get him though? 32-year-old keeper that has probably forgot how to put gloves on at this point, and he's contracted through to like 2026 or something.
Is that Dan, sorry?
Seagrist.
I can tell you, the jungle drums are beating up your way. Where's Seagrass missus live and work? In Sydney. Where's he want to move? Sydney.
No, I don't want him at Sydney FC.
Apparently, Sydney FC's been linked. MacArthur has been linked. Western Sydney haven't been. And then also Adelaide have been linked.
Yeah, look, he wouldn't be the worst at Sydney FC, but they're not paying a fee for him. Like, so you're not selling him. You're just basically agreeing to terminate his contract and get rid of him, which is fine by me. Like, if there's a deal to be done there. But, you know, apart from that, no one's coming in for some of these guys. Like McCarthy would be the first guy out the door, but he's clearly happy to sit there and pick up a paycheck. And I mean, you do hear good things about the way he works with the young guys at training. If he still turns up, I don't know if he makes his way to the ground anymore or whether he bothers with that. The one for me, I'm torn on O. I am leaning toward punt, but also I think at this level, it's rare that whoever starts the game for Celtic this season, whether it was Kyogo or Ida, it's rare that we have a striker that plays 90 minutes. So we're using two strikers most games. If you're doing that, you need a third striker, bare minimum, someone that could come in that's good quality, and you're not, relying on a B team guy to really step up. They might be able to, but you're not left in that position where if in a world that we buy Adam Ida, we're not in a position where if Ida or Kyogo goes down injured, then we're stuck bringing in someone that's just not up to this level at all. So I don't think O's the guy, but at that point, not to sound like the Ibrox noise or whatever it is, but should we just buy Miovski and Ida and Shankland and everyone? No, I think you need three strikers. Obviously not three starting strikers, but if you've got Kyogo and, I'm manifesting Adam Ida into the world coming back, that's two starting quality strikers. If you've got a third striker behind them that's decent enough to come in, I'm okay with that.
Let's just bring Wayne Rooney in after seeing his comments this week.
He's keen. Did you see the one fan on Twitter who's a fan of both Rangers and Plymouth Argyle just losing his fucking mind the day after he got the Plymouth Argyle job? He's like, fucking sack him, fucking scum.
What a combo. Yeah, so realistically, as you're saying, I don't think we're going to be getting a lot of money for these guys that I'm saying to sell, but it's about getting them out of the club, getting them off the wage bill, and moving on and going from there. And, if Seagrass wants to come down to Australia, whoever signs him, just give him, a pack of Winnie Blues and some Tim Tams. That'll do. I'm sure someone at the club will appreciate all of that. So you can't really go wrong with it. Jared, you got anything to add?
Yep, sell O. I just see if we put out O out on loan, he's not going to end up coming back because we're going to end up, if we're putting him out on loan, we've got three strikers, and I don't see him ever actually coming back and playing. And he is got ambitions on being the Korean striker, so he wants game time. So just sell him. Yang, I think, has decent skill, but he's not good enough for us. So loan him out. If he doesn't come back, all he's going to do is increase his price so we can actually sell him later. And if he actually does get used to, if we loan him within Scotland, if he gets used to playing this way, it's only going to make him better. Palmer, I'm just like, yeah, keep him. Like, Palmer has shown his ability, and yeah, people are pissed off at him, and people are like, oh, he's got a bad attitude, and he's got all this. But if you just look at just the last month, after he got benched, and he saw James Forrest get in front of him and everyone else, his game completely changed. Like, he was tracking back and defending, and he was putting in more effort, and he was actually looking threatening in the small chances that he got. And you got to remember, like, these kids are pretty young. Like, they've got growing up to do. And to me, just in that short little time, you could see that he did grow up a little bit. He might be a little dick and you might not like him still, but he's got the skill, and he did show that he has the ability to change and change his attitude. So, like, with the skill, the risk to reward, to me, it's not worth getting rid of him because the reward is so high, and the risk is you just put him on the bench and that's it, and then you can sell him on later for a bigger price. I don't know why the hell Liam Shaw is still part of the team. Like, I have seen this. It feels like this guy has been part of the team since like I was in primary school, still out on loan. Like, get rid of him. I'm looking forward to seeing Bosun Lowell. I think he's going to be a good prospect player because he's versatile and he can play centre midfield and he can play centre back. And so that's one of those players, like you were saying, Jared, where we've got our starters and we've got our backups, and then you've got a couple of little prospect players. He's like the perfect kind of little prospect player that I was thinking of, because he can, if someone goes injured at centre back, you can go, okay, well, next person in, him. If someone's like a defensive midfielder goes out injured, you can put him in and he can plug a few little gaps.
So on that, Jared, quickly, the defensive midfield role, you basically have Kelmack starting, Awada backing him up, Lowell is the third option, or Quan.
Yep. Quan, I think, like I said before, at St Mirren, they just got rid of their other midfielder, Bacchus. So I think they'll really be wanting Quan to stay, because, I mean, it was Bacchus and Quan that was like solid players in there. So I don't think we're going to keep him. I think we might loan him back out to them. And so, yeah, like, and why would Quan want to stay here and be the third string, like behind our captain as well, when he can go back to St Mirren where he's like a cult hero? And also, he's getting way more game time, so it's better for us in the long run as well.
So he can take Yang with him, and we'll send our Korean boys to St Mirren then. There you go. So I'm just going to bring up a comment here. I'm just trying to find it again. It was who was it? There it is, JJ Celtic. Who bought these guys that don't contribute to the team? A certain person called Peter Lowell.
That's a Lowell.
Yeah, it's a Lowell thing. So there you have it. What we'll do is we'll crack on and talk about the Kyogo departure rumors. So apparently he's going back to Japan. Iwara Red Diamonds. So the Mitsubishi-owned team that are the Japanese league equivalent of the Huns are apparently after him. They want a Japanese striker because they need it for quotas and stuff for Europe and all that sort of stuff. Not Europe, Asian Cup and everything. Their Champions League. So apparently they're talking about £6 million. No chance. There's also talk that it's going to be a league record of around 11 million, or whatever it is. So whatever figure, so it works out at about 9.7 million. Still not enough. He won't go back there. Everything we're hearing is that it's not going to happen. But yeah, I did say a couple of weeks back that if he got an offer did come in for him, he's pretty much at the height of his abilities. He's going to lose value over the next few years. So it wouldn't shock me if he did move on, but I hope not. Anyone got anything to add to that?
Nah, 53 goals in 94 games is a phenomenal return. We do not want to be selling a player of that quality. Like, he scored goals in the Champions League, he scored goals in the Europa League, he scored goals in Glasgow derbies. He's a goal scorer. Like, he's a hand scalper, and he's not for sale in my eyes. And if you do want to buy him, then anything less than 50 million won't even be entertained. Like, so absolutely not for sale in my eyes. Like,
let's look at it this way. If he's going to go anywhere, as Andrew's saying, Wara Reds won't spend the money we want for Kyogo. He'll either go to England or Germany. Andrew reckons we'll sell him. Wouldn't be shocked to see him go link up with Ange, because Ange is needing another striker who knows the system to be the point of the press. Wouldn't shock me at all if he ended up at Tottenham.
I agreed that, like, if a team comes in with like a good price, like this is the peak price we're going to get for him. But Japanese football is not where you're going to get peak prices for anyone. So yeah, not a chance.
As Smell the Glove is saying, journalist silly season has started. I'm not trying to sell him off. And AR saying it sounds like a Keith Hunt Jackson story. Dan, you look like you got something to say.
I was just looking at contracts that are expiring and who we might be interested in. There's a fella called Mbappe, I think it's pronounced, who's going to leave PSG. Might be worth a cheeky bid.
Are you talking about the striker or the midfield one leaving PSG?
Either, honestly.
His brother's going to Lille, apparently.
Look, if we've got to buy the brother to get Kylian, then sure, why not? There is an off-contract player who we owe a great debt to. John Lundstrom's up for a job, and he's put in a lot of hard work for Celtic over the last few games. In particular, so we might owe him a quid. Maybe we could hire him to be like a face painter or something at Parkhead, just to peak shithousery. No, Kyogo's not going back to Japan at this point. Let's be honest. I did say he's sneaky older than I thought at 29, but he doesn't look 29. He's fit. He's young. He's got plenty of football in him. And what'd you say? 53 goals in 94 appearances. They can't afford him. I don't know what their budget is, but they can't afford him. I did see a rumor now that Mr. Lennon is in charge of Rapid Bucharest, that he might be interested in Stephen Welsh. So that might sort itself out. And we're talking about not having a suitor. But Kyogo's not going for that sort of money. I'm not sure an English Premier League team would buy him. I know obviously Ange has some experience with him, and obviously will rate him very highly. But there's a bit of snobbery about buying players from Scotland, and I can see them talking themselves out of it. Germany, I could see a bid coming from a decent German club, I think, and he'd probably fit in quite well in the Bundesliga. But I would like him to be at Parkhead for a long time yet.
Yep. Pegleg, we're not trying to sell every good player. We're just talking absolute rubbish here about random things. So don't
We're trying to raise money for Peter, mate.
Yep. And
he's trying to get a new pool in.
And Frog, jog on, you idiot. You are Huns, deal with it. He's trash shit. You absolute flogs. And it's not hate speech, so you can't cause bigots. So go do one.
Oh, the bitterness is still coming through.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for tuning in and giving us the view and everything. Yeah, that's good.
Good to know you've liked and subscribed to the Celtic Down Under podcast. Thanks for that.
Yeah, flog. So, last topic for tonight. I'm going to ask this. I said on Monday's pod, is all forgiven now with Brendan Rodgers? Willie, I'll start with you.
Listen, after the way he left, it was a sore one to take, and the nickname The Rat came into it. But I'll have to say this: I don't regret calling him this, but I may regret the fact that it might have hurt him. And over time, it seems that he's grown on us again. You know what I mean? His tactical nous has won me over. And I'm quietly singing his name as I'm working away in the construction sites. So, I'm glad he's back. He's shown that he's a different side to him. Before, he had all the best players there, and he just blew away the rest of Scottish football. This time round, he's had a bag of nails to try and work with, and he's won the league. I'm not saying all our players were bad, but he hasn't had the kind of players that suit his style of football, and he still managed to make it work. So, kudos to Brendan Rodgers.
Jared?
I never actually really had any bad thoughts against Brendan Rodgers. I mean, he had 3 amazing seasons. Then he seemed to just get screwed over by the board. And then an English Premier League club came and was like, hey, we want you. We're an up-and-coming Premier League team, which he ended up taking to, 4th or 5th and getting cut. Good on him. He proved he made his point. That's what we want with people against this board. It's oh, you're not going to do what we want. You're not going to spend. It's what do you want them to do? Just go, oh, okay then. No, fuck them. Just be well, screw you. I'm off. And then you're going to lose. And everyone's going to get pissed off at the board and go, oh, it's actually the board's fault, not the players or the manager or whatever. I wasn't overly annoyed at it, but I do have respect for him, like, because he is a Celtic fan. The job came up. A lot of people would just went, "Oh, I better not," because they're going to yell at me. Like, he came back and did what he also, with several more years of experience in the English Premier League and dealing with more shit. So yeah, good on him. Came back, took it like a man, won a double, and more to come. You froggy fuck.
Dan, what are you thinking?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to lie. I was dirty on Rodgers and the way it went down. I understand, Premier League comes knocking. It's so hard to knock back, particularly when you've been there and got so close to winning it. But I was dirty the way he left mid-season. I didn't want him back, not so much because of how he left, but more. I'm never one for just going back for the sake of it. I thought, all right, time to move on. Find us. I really wanted Enzo Maresca, to be honest with you, but shit happens. But when he came in, it's like, right, well, you've got to support the manager. You've got to, crack on, as the kids say, and full credit. I'm not going to apologize or anything like that. Not that he's hanging out for my apology, but I don't feel like that's required. But it's like, right, you're doing the job that you're paid to do. You want us a double, make it a treble next season, and away you go. He's back.
Yeah.
He's still watching. Aww.
Still watching.
Froggy.
That is so cute.
I don't want him to leave.
You silly Hun bastard.
So, for me, with Rodgers, I do not retract anything I previously said. He was never my preferred candidate. I had others that I've said, which was Knutson, and there was a few others. But at the end of the day, he came in. He was on a hide into nothing. If things went slightly wrong, he was copping it. When things were slow, he was copping it. And he managed to come out the other side with the team winning a double. So, for me, I will look at it and go, well done. You proved yourself again. And it takes, the way I look at it is you'd have to have some brass neck and some great big massive balls to walk back in that situation and back yourself and put yourself through that again. And the fact that he did it and he's come out the other side with trophies the way he has, well done to him. And yeah, long may it continue. Let's build a team the way Brendan wants it, and we move forward. The easiest way I will finish it off with is that, as a certain band said for one of their biggest songs, don't look back in anger. I'm focusing on forward. We're going in the direction that we want. And yeah, Brendan's here for 10 in a row.
Yo, ho, 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 off we go. That one's for Froggy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll go
Get in line when I'm in Glasgow next time, big fella. I'll knock you out too.
So we'll go final thought, and then we'll end the pod that way. And yeah, it's been the final. As I said at the start of the show, this is the final Thursday Sesh pod until we're back playing games again in the preseason. So we're going to have just one podcast a week on a Monday, and then we'll just have snap podcasts happen here and there when we buy players, sell players, whatever happens. So just keep an eye on the channel, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell because of the snap podcast, so that there's not going to be much warning. So when we go live, you'll get notified, and let's just keep growing the channel as again next season, keep going. So final thought, Willie.
Don't worry, Froggy. You don't need to do any. You've done all this stuff already. So just send us your address, and we'll send you a copy of the Rangers commemorative DVD, top twice in the 23-24 season.
Jared.
I got 1.5. I just want to shout out the women's team who also won the league. So that's 2 losses, Froggy. That's 2 leagues, 1 cup, motherfucker. And my final thought is I've been getting into Hawaiian barbecue lately. If you haven't had Hawaiian barbecue, check it out. It's fucking amazing.
Did he eat frogs?
Google Hawaiian barbecue near you. There's no frogs in it. Nah, I wouldn't fucking eat that shit.
Dan, you got a final thought?
Well, I've outsourced it to ChatGPT again. And now for my final thought. Life, much like this podcast, is unpredictable and often completely absurd. But hey, if we can't find the humor in it, we might just end up being a silly hung fucker watching this show. Let's go, son.
My final thought, I don't even have to say anything. All I have to do is just show this on the screen. Hail, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Very green.